Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the natal chart of Amanda Gorman. Now, many of you may have heard she's gotten a lot of, call it accolades, but a lot of acclaim and notoriety and recognition for uh, became the youngest person ever to recite a poem at a presidential inauguration, at least in the United States. Anyway, and there's she's her birthday. She's born on March 7th, 1998, um, in Los Angeles, California. I don't have her time of birth, so I had to improvise and do a solar/sunrise chart in which I put the sun at the same point as the ascendant. Now, naturally, this energy, being a poet, is connected with Pisces. That's her sun sign, and she has her moon in Cancer. And having the sun in Pisces, of course, there's naturally that focus on poetry. And she's also an activist. She's also involved with people facing oppression and marginalization. And of course, Pisces can be associated with less fortunate, and I would think too, helping others that are in a situation that's marginalized, that the people that are in less fortunate situations. Now, I thought it was interesting that she had stated something when she was talking, say, an interview with Anderson Cooper. Something about, and I don't know if I have the right exact words exactly, but something about showing the bravery to say and be that light. Now, I thought it was interesting in her natal chart. She has a she has the conjunction. Well, it's a series of conjunctions, but one is I would consider, of course, a very long conjunction. Starts out with the Sun in Pisces, going to Mercury in Pisces, then followed by Mars in Aries. We could associate the Sun with light. Mercury can be eyesight, and Mars, of course, could be associated with courage, fortitude, and bravery. So it's like being able to use, you have all those elements in that one astrological statement, starting with the light being shine, being able to see, um, to the light being the sun, and being able to see this with Mercury, and then being done with bravery, Mars and Aries. Now, what this tells me as far as her Sun Moon combination, Sun in Pisces, Moon in Cancer, well, that tells me the way that might, they work together is the fact that, the Sun in Pisces, of course, she can shine in poetry, and having the Moon in Cancer, doing so with a lot of dedication, devotion, tenacity, showing unequivocal love, even patriotism. This was done. Her latest, the poem that she's recited was done at the presidential inauguration. So I think we could say that was flavored, with patriotism, this poetic energy. Basically, she's a Harvard graduate, obviously somebody that's very erudite, very smart person. One thing I want to talk about, what stood out in her chart, though, actually, is the fact she has the square between the Sun in Pisces and Pluto in Sagittarius. Now, squares, you're talking about an adverse aspect, but what it tells me, though, is that perhaps, having the Sun in Pisces in adverse aspect to Pluto, Sun in adverse aspect to Pluto in general can manifest uh, in someone that might keep obliterating something and having to keep redoing it until it reaches a state of perfection or being an infallible state. Now, thing is, but it tells me in all likelihood that she's probably, as far as her poems go, she might do a lot of revisions, a lot of editing. She does have the North Node in Virgo. Um, and this is something where, which actually could be beneficial because she may strive for perfection in this, and that is possibly why she's so proficient at what she does and is a very renowned poet and also an activist. She has a strong Aquarius influence in her chart as well. She has Venus and Neptune and Uranus all in Aquarius. Now, another thing is that, and also again, I mean, with Pisces, a very strong Pisces influence. She has the Jupiter, the Sun, and Mercury in Pisces. So, and Jupiter conjunct the Sun, that definitely can give added luck and being very fortuitous for shining in Pisces related matters, whether it could be in this case poetry, but other things too can include photography, chemistry, dancing, the metaphysical, which can include astrology, spirituality, anything that could be Pisces related. And the thing about this as well, I don't know her time of birth, as I stated at the beginning of the video, but being this is speculative, speculating on this, that maybe she has Gemini rising, because that would put either Aquarius or Pisces on the midheaven, and that would likely put at least one planet in that 10th house, maybe 2 or 3 even. And of course, the 10th house is about notoriety, recognition, exposure, and 10th house is also connected with the government. And that's something that I'm just speculating on. Sagittarius could be another possibility, because that might put the North Node in Virgo in the 10th house if she has Sagittarius rising. And also too, another thing about her chart is that looking at continuing to look at her astrology chart, I would say too that having all this, the strong Pisces energy and Aquarius energy, that can be why she's so, has a lot of, I would say, a lot of altruism in her. The Pisces, of course, is very strong, compassionate energy and self-sacrificing energy. And Aquarius energy, of course, could be about altruism, selflessness, consideration toward others, being futuristic, progressive, moving forward. And anyway, and another thing too, what I wanted to get at, and sorry, I gotta adjust something a second to look at this. Now, another thing too is, it's been stated on Wikipedia, and was also stated when Anderson Cooper was interviewing her, is that she had a speech impediment. I don't know if she currently has it, or it was just something she had in her early childhood. But what I found interesting, okay, she does have Mercury in Pisces, conjunct Mars in Aries. She said she had worked with a speech therapist or speech pathologist on this. Now, Mercury in Pisces, of course, is in its detriment and fall. And the thing about this is, she has it close to 29 degrees. Now, it might be 29 degrees if she's born at a much later time in the day, but it's at 28 degrees. She has, and then the conjunction to Mars and Aries. Well, again, Mercury in Pisces being in its detriment and fall. So, I mean, that position can give a little greater propensity even by itself for some issues with speech. But having the conjunction to Mars and Aries tells me that she likely had the courage and fortitude to do something about it. But it's also, Mars and Aries can be about taking action in speech therapy, because that's associated with Aries, and Mars is about action. So the thing about it is, she also in the solar sunrise chart has Saturn in Aries in the first house. So this is something where maybe working with a speech pathologist, speech therapist, or what have you, required a lot of laborious work. And but to her credit, she's obviously overcome it at least enough where she could speak very well, very clear, perspicacious manner, and speaks very eloquently. So it wouldn't surprise me if she has a Gemini ascendant. Now, another thing that I noticed in her chart as well is that she has a mutable T-square configuration, which consists of the Sun in Pisces opposing the North Node in Virgo, and that being squared by Pluto in Sagittarius. Now, the thing about it, as far as her chart goes, it's something. Looking at this, hold on a moment, people. Well, what I wanted to say, as far as that energy goes, you're talking about the Sun in Pisces, where there's a lot of energy. I mean, it's not just creative energy with poetry. It's about, focusing on the overall picture, maybe overlooking transgressions of others to some degree, and could be about more, less critical energy, and trying to, see, more the things more in a positive light, as far as, just people in general, situations, being more idealistic. It's about more forgiving the transgressions and flaws of others, but the thing is, she has the opposition to the North Node in Virgo. When you have that energy, what it is that where you're being, North Node is connected with our future. The fact that it's opposing her Sun, it's opposing more ego. You could say more ego needs the basic wants, and the North Node in Virgo can be about, more critical energy that might have to be used for the future. And it doesn't necessarily have to be real derogatory critical energy, but something where she's going to have to maybe scrutinize things a little bit more, see the details in situations, be more punctilious with details with others in general situations. It can even be something simple as more proofreading, editing, things that require a little bit more, scrutiny and observation, and something where, where maybe constructive criticism may be involved a little bit more, and also something that might require a little bit her being more, I guess you could say, busier in terms of what it might be, something where she's actually it might be more of a physical nature. Not that Virgo is really associated with anything physical, but more of a work-related situation where it's more about it's less, might be less creative, and something where it just, where there's a lot of service, perhaps to others. So you have that opposition, between the more, relaxed Pisces energy, and then the more, you could say, the busier, the more industrious Virgo energy. And the thing about this too is, and it could also be a difference between the Sun and Pisces. There might be more of a focus on spirituality and serving, the man upstairs. I don't know what her spirituality, is, but it won't surprise me if she is somebody that's spiritual. It could be an opposition between that and also being, trying to be at service at more in a work-related type of environment. So, and this is, and the fact that she has the opposition, Pluto being the focal point of that opposition, the configuration, of course, in a T-square is when you have an opposition between two astrological energies, and it's squared by another planet. And the fact that Pluto is the focal point of that configuration in Sagittarius, well, it may be something where that the point of overcompensation, it might be becoming, in some cases, fixated on a certain philosophy or religious belief, in order to try to balance out that particular, that energy between, the disparity, you could say, the tug of war between the Pisces and Virgo energy. And it might be constantly, remember, Pluto is about rebirth and regeneration, so it might be this constant, perpetual changing of one's philosophy to try to balance those two energies I described before. But the fact is, that is one way that could, how that could manifest and pan out. Now I'm looking at, as far as her chart goes as well. She also has, based on the solar sunrise time, she has what I would consider a grand water trine with the sun in Pisces, the moon in Cancer, and Chiron in Scorpio. Now this could be a little bit controversial because a lot of people may not use Chiron in a configuration in astrology, but I think Chiron could be actually very significant. And when you have a grand water trine configuration in general in your chart, this could manifest in being very intuitive, instinctive energy, knowing to kind of be at the right place, maybe at the right time. And the thing about it is, that energy can all integrate and work very well together, and it can bring some success, sometimes even prosperity, I would say, as long as one doesn't become overly complacent with it. Now, with the sun in Pisces, that could be shining, of course, in poetry. It matters with altruism. The moon in Cancer, maybe somebody being recognized as sympathetic, as sentimental, even patriotic as well. And then the Chiron in Scorpio could manifest perhaps in the healing energy, to maybe by encouraging others to transform, to rebuild their lives, by encouraging others in matters with resiliency, and maybe motivating others to be resilient toward and encourage them toward rebirth and regeneration. It's about resurrection, whether it's somebody's life or what have you. And this could be, in looking at this, and it tells me, it really, a lot of this, really seems to resonate with her. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about, this is likely the last thing I'm going to talk about as far as her chart goes. Now, she has a stellium with stellium and Aquarius, starting with Neptune, then Venus, and then Uranus and Aquarius. Now, when you're looking at a stellium in astrology, it's broken. Some people may know this, some may not, but it's broken down systematically. Basically, it forms an astrological statement, starting in this case with Neptune, and ending with Uranus. And with Neptune, that could be about dreams. Venus is the next planet. Venus about love, so dreams of love. Uranus could be connected with humanity, and in the fact it's in Aquarius for the future. It's also, and also another way this may manifest, starting with Neptune again, perhaps inspiration, and then Venus valuing, and then Uranus the future, and perhaps the fact that this is in Aquarius, maybe this is being done somehow through maybe ingenuity in some cases, perhaps through altruism and selflessness, and maybe even through some kind of group related efforts. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.